Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Council of Elrond, a Lord of the Rings podcast brought to you by the Mellon Heads, where we discuss all things Lord of the Rings, Tolkien and Middle-earth related. In today's episode you are going to learn absolutely everything there is to know about Saruman's crystal ball, which is called the Palantír, and the rest of these seeing stones. Where did they come from? What do they do? How do they work? Well, I can see into your mind that you will know all this information by the end of this episode, so buckle up and enjoy the ride. I'm Dave, and joined with me here today is my co-host, Johnny.
A Palantír is a dangerous tool, Saruman.
Why? Why should we fear to use it?
So firstly, I just want to break down the actual meaning of the word Palantír, or the plural Palantíri. In Quenya, the word pal is wide or open. There's another word called palang, or palang meaning far and distant, and then the word tir means watch. So pal, wide open, and tir, watch. So Palantír, there you go.
Oh, it's not like friend and like a teardrop. Palantír.
Yeah. My bud and cry.
Exactly.
Palantír, the stuff of wizards. A crystal ball to see the future.
Yeah, so Johnny, what do the Palantíri look like, or what does the Palantír that we know from the movies look like?
Yeah, well, I believe you said in your intro that it's like a crystal ball. So yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like a crystal ball, but I suppose the ones that we see in the movie, we definitely see a kind of a one that's kind of a black sort of marble type finish on the outside of it, where it's kind of I don't know, it looks just like a big lump of marble, but like in a perfectly rounded shape. So it's like a perfectly perfectly spherical marble ball. That's what it looks like.
Very nice. Spherical ball. Yeah, perfectly smooth, all in varying sizes.
Looks lovely. I just want to like rub it on my face.
Yeah. Do you know those guys you see in like circuses and stuff, or on the street, where they're just like moving those balls on their hand?
Oh yeah,
and they're just like moving all around their body. That's kind of like what the Palantír looks like to me. It's just like so smooth that it just like slips around your body.
Yeah,
it sounds very dirty, but you know what I mean.
No.
So yeah, they're mostly small, crystal-like balls with the diameter around a foot, but some were too enormous to be lifted by one man. But yeah, you're correct in everything. Dark, marble-like look finish to them. But I want to ask you, do you know how many there actually were?
Ooh, I think. Let me see. I think were there seven seeing stones. Is that? That's
so you are kind of correct. They were called the seven seeing stones, or the seven stones, or the seeing stones, but there were 8. Which is
for God's sake.
Well, there were 8 that we actually know of. It isn't completely confirmed, but there's 8 stones in the books that are mentioned.
They are not all accounted for, the lost seeing stones. We do not know who else may be watching.
And would you know where they were, or whereabouts the stones are located?
God, no, I wouldn't have a clue. I know that well, obviously,
you know where one is.
I know Saruman has one. I know that Sauron has one. I know that Denethor has one. It says 3.
Yeah, very good. Like, I'm gonna mainly talk about the 3 that are involved during the Third Age, or during the Lord of the Rings time period. So you got that right. So what do we have there? Orthanc.
Yeah,
right?
Barad-dûr.
Yeah,
and Gondor.
Okay, that'll do.
I mean, yeah, I don't think I'm going to get more than that, really. I mean,
yeah, but what room? No, I'm only messing.
Yeah,
so
it was in the northeast corner of Denethor's bedroom.
Exactly, under his mantelpiece. So the most obvious one was, of course, in Orthanc in Saruman's possession. Another in Barad-dûr, like you mentioned. I can see that this is like the Palantír.
Sorry, I'm pretending to like be Saruman and controlling my microphone. Yeah. To all of our viewers who are only listening and cannot actually view it or cannot see it, that's going to be very helpful. So,
oh yeah, very good. So yeah, another, like you mentioned, was in Barad-dûr, and this is the one that Sauron uses to corrupt Saruman's mind. And lastly, Minas Ithil, which was converted to Minas Morgul, which is where the Witch King pops out of the movies in that little fortress. I'll touch on the other stones briefly later, but yeah, very good. We're going good so far.
Very, very good.
So, other than Netflix, Disney Plus, and Middle Earth Tinder, what were the stones used for, and what did they actually do?
Yeah, very good. Do you like swipe? How do you swipe left or swipe right on the Palantír?
Just smack the ball to the left and smack it to the right.
You roll it to the left and roll it to the right. So, what was the question? I'm sorry. what were they used for? Well, they were used for communication, I suppose. You could have a little. You could get on the old the dog and bone and
on the blower,
give your friend a call, and well, basically that communicating from obviously Sauron used to have little chats all the time, and they just catch up and see how they were getting on and be like, "How is Saruman? Just your hair's looking very white and long today. You'd be using
gorgeous.
That. You'd be using the Pantene Pro V that I sent you." So
the Palantír.
The Palantír Pro V.
Palantír Pantene. Yeah. With its Snapchat apps on it and what other apps?
So is that what you're looking for? To see what it was used for, or what else we saw? Because obviously we saw how they were used in the movies, which obviously what I would say was just communication was the main thing that they were used for. But they could be to actually have a conversation with someone, and maybe Sauron could speak to the Witch King and tell him some information. But then also they were used maybe in other way, almost like Galadriel's mirror as well, where you could see things that maybe weren't actually reality or were maybe possibilities of things that could happen in the future. So, for example, when Pippin looked into Saruman's Palantír, he saw things that maybe were possibilities of things that would happen in the future. Like he saw Sauron's plan. So it's not just like a Skype call. It's also it's a bit like mystery and magic, and you could actually see things that were happening anytime. It's almost like Bran from
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. He could just the three-eyed raven. He could just see things like anything that happened at any time in any part of the world, sort of.
Yeah, that was very convenient. You could just see anything at any time in any part of the world. And he was very useful, wasn't he?
He was definitely the most interesting character, and I'm so glad he became the king.
He was so interesting that they cut him from season 5 altogether.
Exactly, yeah. Brad, would you like to be the king? That is why I have come. Yeah. But Brad, did you not just already say 2 minutes ago that you can never hold any lands or be the lord of anything? Yes, I did, but we forgot about that. So let's.
But that was the past.
Yeah,
that is why I have come all this way. But yeah, back to the Palantír or the Palantíri. You're completely correct. They were mainly used. Well, if you go by Peter Jackson's films, it seems that Saruman can sort of communicate with Sauron and have the chats with him, amongst seeing other cool, flashy stuff like you mentioned, like seeing Sauron's plan and all that kind of stuff. But mainly meant for communication purposes. But it's not just as simple as that, because there's a specific way to use them and how they work. So first and foremost, not anyone could just use the Palantír. So much like a 10-year-old playing Fortnite, it takes a lot of skill and probably years of practice. So each stone had axes, and it needed to be positioned correctly in order for it to work. So to operate the Palantír, the user, or in this case they'd be called the surveyor, they had to position themselves behind the stone so that it is facing the direction of where they want to communicate. So maybe Saruman had his position towards Mordor.
The stars are not in position for this tribute.
Like he says, stars can't do it. Not today.
Very good. And what kind of OS, what kind of operating system was the Palantír running?
Oh, it was Explorer. Windows Explorer. There was dial-up, like.
When you said the users of the Palantír, I was thinking of like
The Palantír social media website.
Exactly.
So the surveyor would then telepathically send their thoughts to the user on the other stone, who would hear their message in their mind. So this form of communication actually had a name in Quenya, and Quenya is the high formal, like, elven language, and this name was Osanwe, which translates to interchange of thought. So that was the kind of technique that was used, and yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Very good.
So the Palantír could not transfer sound, however, only visions and thought. People and
what about
places.
smell?
Oh man, we talked about this before, didn't we?
Yeah, we've had many a chat about being able to transfer smells over phones. Hopefully one day. Hopefully
someday. We have a blooper that we had to cut from an episode of us discussing sending each other farts, but who knows? Maybe that'll make an appearance way, way, way down the line.
Yeah, we'll put it up on the Patreon.
Yeah, we'll do it.
We need to set up Patreon first, and then we'll use that for putting up bloopers of us, me and Dave, talking about stupid things.
Oh dear God. Yeah, pay us money to hear us talk about farts. That's how it works. But yeah, people and places could also be seen if the surveyor is very skilled, and magnification was also possible for those with extraordinary willpower. I think a lot of the stones, like, in order to use them, it takes a lot of willpower. So that's kind of, I don't know, that's the skill set required for actually using it. So perhaps Aragorn using the stone was because he had a tremendous amount of willpower and yada yada. So not anyone could just like pick up a stone and use it. But if you did already have a tremendous amount of willpower, whatever that means, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah,
but
I suppose I think it would kind of be like just having a conversation with Saruman without the stones, just in general. Like if you go and you start speaking to Saruman, his voice was so powerful, and he was so good at like manipulation, that if you weren't like really strong-willed, and if you didn't have a strong mind, and you weren't like, I don't know, worthy, maybe, I'm not sure, whatever that's supposed to mean as well. If you're not worthy to have this conversation, well, then you just get destroyed by Saruman. But if you have like a strong mind and you're able to kind of go toe to toe with him, then you would be able to maybe come out of a conversation with him unscathed. But
man, he must have a load of friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So guys, what shall we talk about? It's like, oh no.
Imagine going down to the pub with Saruman and you're like, oh God, he's about to tell us a story.
Saruman just leans over with a pint together. He's like, come here to me now and I'll tell you a story. You're like, oh no, I'm going to die.
It's like a proper old man in a pub.
Yeah.
Do you notice when like owl lads in the pub, they don't just like tell you a story, they also have to like grab your arm and like pull you really close.
Oh, they have to lead in.
Yeah.
So you can tell, you can smell what they've had for breakfast. And you're like, oh my God.
Oh yeah. And you'll be cleaning it off your face the next morning as well. You're like, oh God. Owl lad. Hey, before moving on to more Palantír stuff, do you want to hear something cool?
Yeah, go on. Go ahead.
So, Rowan Silversmiths reached out to us on Instagram. Instagram, sorry. Had a bit of an Australian accent there, or New Zealand, I don't know. So, do you want to hear what he has to say?
Sure. Who is this?
This is Rowan Silversmiths. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he says, Hi lads, I love your podcast. I started listening to The Friendship Onion and it recommended me to listen to your podcast, and I would go as far as to say yours is even better. Ooh. I don't know about that, but like, look, we're trying. He continues, he says, I'm a jeweler by trade and would love to make you both a silver version of the One Ring free of charge. So I just thought that was such a class gift.
Oh, it's great. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
I think I used to have a couple of rings like years ago, but I've definitely lost them. So I could do with the new one. And if it's made by like a proper jeweler, well then that would be lovely. Thank you, sir.
All the like crappy ones you get in gift shops and stuff, they always kind of go brown after a while and they're always way too big. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah. He said he'd send a silver one, which would be like more socially acceptable to wear as well. I couldn't be walking around with a gold ring like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm obviously going to wear it on a chain around my neck, so under my shirt, so I'm going to keep it secret and keep it safe.
Keep it safe.
So, it'll be all
Well,
right.
Mr. Rowan, we would absolutely love that. I've had a sneaky look through his Instagram page, and he's got some top quality jewelry there. So, yeah, he seems like a lovely bloke as well. So everyone go check him out. He's at Rowan Silversmiths on Instagram. I'll probably tag him in the description below anyways. But yeah, thanks a million, man.
Thank you very much.
Back to the Palantír. Juanatan, where did they come from? And who made these stones?
Oh God.
Was it
I don't know.
Saruman himself?
No, I reckon like it was probably the elves, like back in the first age or something. Back in maybe the elves, or maybe there's like the Valar. I'm not too sure. Maybe in Valinor, but by the elves.
Oh, there's some quality guessing going on here.
Am I close?
Yeah, you're fairly bang on. Like it's not known exactly who created them, but it was the Noldor elves. So
the
you got that.
Yeah. Oh,
and
savage.
well, it was most likely thought to be Fëanor, who famously created what?
Fëanor, the Silmarils.
Exactly. So I think I don't think it explicitly says it anywhere that Fëanor created the stones, but I think it's just widely believed. Like most people just say, yeah, Fëanor created them. But they would have been created in Valinor during the early days of the creation of Varda. So yeah, you're correct there again.
Oh, wow, that was a bit of a guess. I mean, maybe I saw it before, but I definitely didn't remember. So.
I mean, anything that's like magical and cool
Yeah,
and
yeah,
old,
that's-
you could be like elves, Valinor.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of a
Job
safe,
done.
kind of a safe bet. Like, yeah. And yeah, Fëanor or Celebrimbor, you're like, yeah, one of them two probably did it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like answering Jesus in Sunday school. It's always going to be Jesus. So, kids, who did Jesus? Okay, well done.
Yeah, that's the answer.
So yeah, it is here in Valinor where the Master Stone was placed on the island of Tol Eressëa in the Tower of Avalone. All the other stones show up in Middle Earth on the island of Númenor, and the elves gifted them to Amandil, who is actually Elendil's father. This is when he lived in Númenor at the time. But when Númenor is destroyed, Elendil escapes and takes the 7 Seeing Stones to Middle Earth. The reason the stones all split up is because Elendil stations them in the realms of both kingdoms, Arnor and Gondor. So you can actually find maps where all the stones are located, like they're, in different like locations in Arnor, which is up north, and then Gondor down below. So he kind of stations them to like not the 4 corners, but yeah, maybe the 4 corners of each kingdom. So as a means of communication as well, and kind of overlooking his land and his kingdoms.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, smart.
So, well, I want to just go through a couple of the stones. I don't have too much to say on them, so don't worry, I won't bore you to death. But
thank God.
So firstly, the Orthanc stone. This is the most famous stone that everyone knows from the movies. This is actually part of the reason that Saruman decides on taking up residence in Orthanc. He wanted access to the abilities of the stone. He was given the keys by a steward of Gondor, but I don't know why, but it wasn't until 250 years after residing in Orthanc, Saruman finally uses the stone for the first time. Don't ask me why.
wow.
There's probably a reason, but I don't know. If anyone knows, send it in.
Yeah, he was
but yeah.
master. He was master in Fortnite before that.
Fortnite, yeah, or foreplay with the stone. He was like, you can't just go straight into
Building
it.
up the courage.
Yeah. Although he did not realize that there were other stones being used. This includes Sauron's stone, which is the stone he used to corrupt the wizard. But do you remember what happened to the stone in the book, the Orthanc stone?
At what point? When?
Sorry, before it fell into the hands of Pippin.
Oh well, like I mean, where it was thrown from
Yeah, yeah.
Orthanc. Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah.
So Grima. Well, yeah, am I correct? Grima threw it from the rooftop at Saruman when they were having their little lovers' tiff, their little quarrel. He chucked it at him and tried to like knock him out, and then it fell down and it landed on the ground, and that's how Pippin then got his hands on it.
Exactly.
Later
So
on.
a little bit different to the movies. That's exactly how Johnny said there. Grima just kind of chucks it at, isn't it? It's not really known if it's directed towards Saruman or Gandalf. It's just kind of that direction.
Yeah,
it's kind of not known.
Apparently, there's a little bit of debate about whether, because I think Grima was basically on the rooftop, and then Saruman was at his little balcony area, like down below, and then Gandalf was below Saruman again.
Gandalf was on the terrace.
Yeah, he was sitting down having a beer and some olives, and so then Grima threw it directly down towards and I mean it missed Saruman, and then it went down towards Gandalf. So you could say, oh, he was trying to hit Gandalf, but I think everybody knows he was just fed up of Saruman's bullshit. He was like, right, I've had enough of this lad. I'm going to kill him with his own Palantír, and that'll be it.
And I think he doesn't even know it is a Palantír, or he doesn't know much about it. He just kind of picks it up and chucks it at him. He's like, look at this nice smooth rock. Who's going to throw it at that old guy?
He's not the smartest lad around, Grima. No.
Not the sharpest tool.
No, he's not the brightest bulb.
But he is a tool, nonetheless. Nonetheless. I
love how like words in the English language just like nonetheless can never be said again without just saying like nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly.
But we will meet them in battle nonetheless.
Yeah. And I think anytime I'm talking to somebody about like, you know, hiding something, I always say keep it secret, keep it safe.
I know, yeah. I mean,
happens
well, I mean, yeah, we should probably ask the listeners as well. Is it just me and Dave, or is this the same for everybody else? Has like everybody else's vocabulary and pronunciation of the English language been changed thanks to, well, I was going to say because of, but I'm now changing. I'm going to say thanks to Lord of the Rings, because I'm not like angry about this fact at all. I think it's great that I have to say nonetheless in this way, or as Dave said there, if I want to talk about, you know, keeping something safe, I'll have to say keep it secret, keep it safe.
Exactly. Yeah, so
please let us know, and let us know your examples of things that that you always say that are direct quotes from Lord of the Rings.
Yes, it would be wise to send them in, my old friend.
We must join with him, Gandalf. We must join with Sauron. It would be wise, my friend.
So moving swiftly on to the Ithil Stone. So this is placed in Minas Ithil. Once the Nazgul took over the city, they took the stone back to Barad-dûr for their master Sauron. I think I mentioned earlier, but Minas Ithil becomes Minas Morgul, but that was the name of the stone anyways, Minas Ithil. So yeah, that was the name of it when it was part of Gondor, and it was like a fortress of the Great Kingdom. But yeah, this was a stone that Sauron used to communicate with Denethor. And interestingly, Denethor's will was so strong that he was able to resist Sauron, who was able to corrupt the mind of the wizard Saruman, as I said earlier. Although this did age Denethor rapidly, and it made him very depressed. And I think in the movie they do a really good job of showing how, like, I don't know, hopeless he is.
His depression.
Yeah, but like he just has like a lost hope in the kingdom of Gondor, and you know, anytime he has a chance, he just throws the toys out of the basket. He's like, nah, I surrender.
Oh yeah,
stop.
Yeah, that's it was a fantastic performance from.
It was a noble performance.
John Noble.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, it's John. Mr. Noble. Yeah, it was a noble performance by him.
I have seen more than you know. With your left hand, you would use me as a shield against Mordor, and with your right, you'd seek to supplant me.
Yeah, it's also, I would say, however, that everybody who just watches the movies kind of just thinks Denethor is just a prat and nothing else about him. But I would say that in the books, you do realize that he's really cool. Well, it's not that he's cool; he's still annoying as well. But like he's really strong, and he's really powerful as well, and he's extremely wise.
Yeah, extremely wise, and it doesn't really look like it from the movies, but he cares a lot for Gondor, and he loves Gondor, and the reason he's using the stone, in fact, that brings us on to the Anor stone, which is the stone that was placed in Minas Tirith, and the reason Denethor uses this stone is to watch over his lands and to protect Gondor. And sorry, the reason the stone is called the Anor stone is because the city Minas Tirith used to be titled Minas Anor. So Denethor, after years of using this stone, and like I said earlier, his will was so great that he was able to kind of reject or resist Sauron, I suppose.
Reject him. Turn him down.
Yeah, reject him. He swiped left.
Yeah.
Sauron was like, he sent him a super like Sauron did. And he was like, nah, I'm not going to like this. Yeah, but he just became so kind of depressed and lost all faith and lost all hope, and that's kind of where we see him, where he's at in the movie. So that's why he's a bit of a antagonist, I suppose.
That and obviously the death of his wife were two things that made him just go completely bitter and start to hate the world and Faramir and be like, everything's crap in my life. I'm going to take it all out. Faramir, that dick.
Yeah. Faramir. But yeah, interestingly, they don't have this in the movie, but he was holding the stone. Well, in the movie, it plays out a little bit different, but when he commits suicide on the funeral, the pyre, he's actually holding this seeing stone, and
oh right,
yeah, it's pretty grim, and also it's pretty cool. But after he dies, that seeing stone, whenever it was being used again, only people with exceeding power could see anything in it other than two flaming hands. So it's kind of spooky, but yeah, spooky and grim.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, imagine that. You're like, oh, I just want to go onto Tinder today. And you're like, somebody's burning. So the last stone that I'm going to touch on is the Chief Stone, which was in Osgiliath, and this was so large that it couldn't be lifted by a single man, but most likely machinery. And I'm just saying that because every picture I've seen of the stone, it's been like hoisted up by some sort of pulley system thing. So I don't know, that could just be artist's interpretation, but like that's the kind of vibe I get from it. It's like so huge that yeah, you can only move it with massive machinery.
How huge are we talking?
I'd say about like 6, 7, maybe like 8 foot diameter.
Right.
I'm just going off the top of my head from like judging the size of those pictures, but also remember that's made of marble or made of whatever it's made of.
Solid stone, basically. So probably weighs a fair amount.
Yeah, so obviously this was the largest of all the seeing stones in Middle-earth, and it could actually spy on all the others, so it was a sneaky stone as well.
It was a sneaky seeing stone. That was Gollum stone.
Yeah.
Sneak.
So this stone was lost during the Great Battle in Osgiliath, which was actually a civil war, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, we can come back to that another time. This is when the city was burned and the stone fell into the river Anduin, never to be seen again.
Jeez, that Anduin River is always swallowing stuff up. And it's just like,
yeah,
oh, I'm just going to fall in here and it'll either never be seen again or be lost for about 5,000 years. And you're kind of going, Jesus, this nuisance, that river. Just get rid of that river.
It's an absolute nuisance altogether. It's always taking like valuable jewelry and special magical items.
Exactly. And then one time lads go fishing on it, they get dragged in by some giant fish, and then they end up finding a ring and killing each other. So yeah, there's nothing good ever happens to that Anduin River.
Yeah, what has the River Anduin ever done good in Middle-earth? Was that a proper sentence?
What have the Romans ever done for us?
Yeah, precisely. Other than build roads and aqueducts and
irrigation. Oh, shut up.
So the other stones that we know about, I'm not going to talk much about these, but the Amon Sul stone, which was stationed on Weathertop, where we see this in the movies. Well, we don't see the stone, but we see the ruin of Weathertop. In case anyone doesn't know, this is where Aragorn fights the ringwraiths for the first time with the hobbits. Frodo gets stabbed. The next
and
stone
Amon Hen?
Don't think so. No.
Amon Hen didn't have one either, no?
No. So there's Weathertop, and then there's the Anuminas stone, which is in Anuminas. I'm trying to remember where that is. I don't know. I think this is in Arnor as well. And then the Elendil stone, which is in Olostirion, which again I think is in Arnor.
Do those Palantír things ever lie?
Never.
No, because I was trying to think there about like Amon Sul and Amon Hen. Excuse me. Amon Sul and Amon Hen. And I thought that they were like two great like watch tower areas because you have obviously Amon Sul, Weathertop, where they fight the ring wraiths. That's, you know, it looks like it's got a great positional advantage because it's a big, tall, tower-looking hill in the middle of like flatlands or in the middle of nowhere, and so obviously that's got a great area to like look out from. But then also, Amon Hen, I'm pretty sure I remember that on the top of Amon Hen there's actually like a chair where you could just sit and have this huge view out, looking out across the landscape as well. So I remember that was another really important like viewing point of old. It's like if you're driving your car along like, I don't know, the coast of Kerry, and you see, oh, there's a little place I could stop off here and go out and get a beautiful view, and like it'd be signposted with those like brown heritage signposts. You're like, oh, here we are, lovely view. So that was kind of like
Wild Atlantic Way.
Exactly. That was like Amon Hen and Amon Sul. Like if you're driving through Middle Earth on your horse and cart, you see a little brown heritage sign that says, go this way for a glorious view. You're like, oh, right,
Yeah.
lovely stuff. So
Yeah, it was a viewpoint.
it was a viewpoint. No, and
beautiful
so
viewpoint.
they both were. So when you mentioned that one of the seeing stones was on Amon Sul, I thought, oh, well, maybe Amon Hen as well, because it was just a stab in the dark.
Quote the book.
Exactly, yeah, but with a bit of a Schleigo slang on it.
Schleibo slang. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there was no Palantír located on Amon Hen, but a few of them did move around, and I know that there are, like, if people want to look further into the lore of some of the stones from Arnor. Am I getting that word right? Arnor, yeah? That's
Arnor,
the
yeah.
Yeah.
The kingdom, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one of those times whenever you like repeat a word too many times, then you're like,
Yeah.
is this a word?
Yeah.
Actually, that happened to me like
sure.
I think that happened to me like yesterday, where I had to like Google a word, like a really normal word like fork or something, and I was like, "Is this a word?"
You're like, what the fuck is this?
Because I can't remember. There's a name for that condition where you just hear a word repeated so many times that it just starts to lose all meaning, and you're like, and you have to wait for a period of time until that word actually starts to make sense again. You're like, fork.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like when, do you know when Homer is like, a gime? What the hell is a gime? And then he goes to the gym and he's like, oh, a gime.
Yeah. That's class.
Sorry, what I was going to say earlier is if anyone wants to like know more about the lore in some of these stones located in Arnor, I know there's a couple of different stories. Like each one has a little tale to it. Like I think
They have tails?
yeah, they've a head and tails. They're also coins. Elendil stone, I think it's Elendil stone, was situated in this big tower, and it was facing Numenor, or where Numenor was. And I think the only thing that stone could do was just like, was it looking at Valinor? No, I think it was looking at Valinor. And the only thing that stone could do was see Valinor or something like that. Maybe it was Numenor. Somebody let us know in the comments. I can't remember.
Thanks for coming to the Mellon Heads podcast to learn lots of information and factual stuff.
I'm pretty sure one stone saw Numenor and one saw Valinor. Do you know what I think it was? Do you know
Were they
what
just
I think
stones
it
that
was?
were just found on the beach, and they washed ashore, and they were just used as marbles, and then Sauron and Saruman had a big game of marbles, and that was about it. That was about it.
I think Elendil's stone was when it was in Numenor, he could see Valinor. And then when they left Numenor and he went to this place, Elastirion, he situated it in a tower and faced Numenor, but he couldn't see anything. So the stone was
Sure,
basically
Numenor had been sunk by then.
That's what I'm saying. Anytime,
yeah.
well, I think he was like searching, or I don't know what he was searching for. Atlantis.
I
But,
was about to say the lost city.
he saw nothing but like waves and
Fishes.
sea and fishies,
Yeah,
fish
yeah.
eye.
Fish
But
eyes.
yeah. And then I think another stone, I think it might have been the Enumina stone. There was another tale there where that one ended up being sunk as well, or sank. French 5. Sanked.
Yeah. Half these.
Yeah, so half teeth.
I have looked inside my Palantír.
But yeah, that's pretty much everything about the Palantír. Like there isn't a huge amount of information available about them, but yeah, that's as much as I can give you. Again, guys, if you do want to know more, I watched the Nerd of the Rings video, and Matt goes into a lot of detail in that video as well, so it's worth checking it out if you do want to know some more nerdy detail on some of the less popular stones. But yeah.
Yeah. Nerd of the Rings has got some great content, so go check him out as well if you already don't follow him.
Yeah, and I have a sneaky feeling that anyone that listens to us might be a subscriber to Nerd of the Rings. So thanks, guys.
It's like, I'm going to shout out, if you're looking for a great cup of coffee, there's this place I just found called Starbucks.
Oh, really? Thanks, man.
Kind of up and coming place, so go check it out.
Yeah, I've heard this fine restaurant called McDonald's. Some people know it as Mackie D's, but yeah, it's quite nice. I have a little interesting fact for you also.
Tidbit?
A little tidbit. Well,
Ooh.
It's kind of outside of the world of Lord of the Rings. But did you know that there is a US software company called Palantír Technologies? And it's a direct rip-off of the Palantír because its logo as well. I looked it up, and the logo, I actually found it when I was trying to research the Palantír, and I was like, oh, this isn't what I'm looking for. But yeah, the logo is just basically a ball above a wide V. So it's clearly a Palantír in its little kind of crystal ball holder thing.
Little cradle.
So, yeah. So I just kind of thought that was cool.
All right. Oh, very good. And that sounds cool. Maybe there's some evil characters working in this company. Like, is there any representation? Who's the CEO? Is his name like S. Man, like Sauron or something?
Yeah.
Or S the White. You're like, what?
So it's a racist company too.
Yeah.
That reminds me as well. I'm trying to remember what it was. Dad, not too long ago, had some company come to the house, and what were they doing? Was it like a heating company or something?
Were they Jehovah's Witnesses?
No. No, he let them in the door. Like.
He said, come on in. They were like,
Yeah.
what? We've never got this far.
Yeah. What do we do now? Yeah, but I think it was like some heating company or something, but the name on the van was Aragon. Yeah, no, they were the repair company for our pellet stove heater, and it was called Aragon. And I was like, oh, like I was talking to the guy that was at the door, and I was like, oh, kind of like from Lord of the Rings, and he was like, yeah, the guy that set up the company 30 years ago named it after the book character Aragon. And I was like,
no way.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and I was like, this was months ago, and I was like, are you a fan of Lord of the Rings? Because we have a podcast. And he was like, no. Fair enough. But yeah,
that's cool. There's also an area in Spain called Aragon.
Oh, there is.
Just give that place a shout out as well. But
shout out to that place.
Shout out to that landmass. Yep.
There's also a big spider in Harry Potter called Aragon.
This conversation could go on for a while, guys. So.
Yeah. Is it the spider or is it Aragog? I don't know. But there's also the Table of Elements Aragon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very soon he will have summoned an army great enough to launch an assault upon Middle-earth.
You know this? How?
I have seen it.
Well, guys, that pretty much sums up all there is to know about the Seeing Stones or the Palantír and their functionality. Most of the stones end up being lost or possibly destroyed, but they all have a little story of their own. Like I said, I would recommend Nerd of the Rings video on the Palantír, as Matt discusses in further detail the timeline of each stone and its fate. If there's anything else you'd like to ask us or inform us concerning the Palantír or anything at all, you can find us on Twitter at Mellon_Heads, or check out the rest of our socials in the description. Also, if you want to help us even further, you can become a member for just €2 a month on our Buy Me a Coffee account, which is buymeacoffee.com/Mellon patreon.com/the Mellon Heads, or even make a one-time donation there. Just check the link in the description. Thank you all so much for listening. Please do hit that subscribe button so that you're notified when new episodes come out, and leave us a review after the 5-star rating, of course, and we will see you next week.